Wednesday, everyone. I'm Esther.
I'm Juji.
I'm Elijah.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here to remind you what day it is. So first off, I'm going to start off with a fact about me. And a fact about me is that one time, I ate a whole can of sardines. That was supposed to be for my cat.
Gross.
Oh.
And she wouldn't eat them, so I ate them.
When I was a teenager, I used to love sardines, like young teens, and I
That's
don't
weird.
know why.
I
gross.
didn't
You were a weird
regret it. It
teenager.
was, I was like, should I have eaten that? But it's food. Food's food, right? So, our first segment today, as you guys probably already know, is New This Week, or What's New. So, anyone want to start off with something?
All right. I am no longer single, so that's new.
Woo.
Did you say
who is it?
boo?
I said woo.
That sounded like a boo.
Yeah, that sounded like a boo, Chooch. That wasn't cool.
Boo.
I want Elisha to be single forever.
Yeah, Elisha, what about those things that we were going to do together? When are we going to have the time to do them now?
Yep. Now I'm busy living my life.
You promised you'd go to my baseball game.
Oh, Alex.
That should be the other way around.
Yeah, you've never played sports. I'm out of the four of us, I'm the only one that's done any sort of sport like activities, and even then, after like 7 years of it, I was like, why am I still playing baseball? Like, I don't plan on doing anything with this.
Because half the time you just get to sit down and watch the game, so...
No, like, that's the thing is I didn't even watch the game. I love drawing.
You just said you're benched. You just said you were benched.
I totally was
all
a
the
bench.
time.
I would sit on the bench and I would draw pictures in the sand. And then when I was in the outfield, I'd pick the dandelions, and then I'd be really excited to get airheads after the game. So like that was baseball to me.
Me too.
Those are the best parts of baseball. I'm not actually sure how to play the game. I'm not sure the rules. 7 years, still not sure.
Oh, boy.
That's like me in dance class.
Yeah, you did so many
7
different
years.
dance classes.
I still don't know what a plie is. Anyone else? I'll go.
Okay.
All right.
My new this week is that I'm sick. And
Ew.
I have a cold. And usually my colds only last for like a day or two. But this one is lasting much longer, and I blame it on Elisha.
Well, I did have some sort
Enough
of
said.
evil super cold, so I don't think it's me because I don't even live home anymore. But sure, why not?
Elisha
My
just
fault.
came
My
over
bad.
just so... You just came over so you could just cough on everything and
Yeah,
like,
do you know
left.
what? I'm basically trying to ruin everybody's life by not being single anymore and coughing all over things. Those are like the two things I do really well. Just spread germs and date.
Who's the person you're dating? What's their name?
So, her name is Megan, and oddly enough, I made friends with one of the cooks at work, and he's a really cool guy named Dan. And I'd always chat with him about like different things I've been up to, different adventures and stuff. And he'd often send me on Facebook like really cool stuff. Like when I went to go see Adam Savage, I only even knew about that show because of Dan. And so one day we got talking, and it happened to come up that I was single. And he's like, "Hey, so my stepdaughter is single," and I was like, "Oh, cool."
Interesting.
Yeah. And,
Weirdest
like,
setup ever.
yeah, no, totally the weirdest setup ever. And so I was like, all right, well, you're welcome to give her my number, and maybe we can go see a movie sometime or go see a show. And so he did. And then I realized too late that I had no idea how old she was.
What
Or
if she
what-
was like 9 years old
Or what she looked like.
and you had to go take her to Despicable Me 3?
Well, that's what I was worried about. Specifically, like having to see Despicable Me 3, which is a tongue
Exactly.
twister.
I mean, I don't even think I'd be able to sit through that.
Gross.
Yeah. So anyhow, and so like, but it really all I kind of knew was that she liked Weird Al, and that she was in college, but I didn't know where in college. So she could be anywhere from like 19 to like early 30s, and I had no idea. Plus, I have a baby face, and I realized that Dan probably didn't know how old I was either. But yeah, so she ended up eventually texting me, and we just hit it off really well. And come to find out, she is.
Does she watch our podcast?
She hasn't listened to our podcast yet, but she's waiting for me.
Don't have her listen to it.
She's actually waiting
Can I
for me.
follow her on Instagram?
Sure. She has like 7 things up there, but yeah, she'd be fine
I'm
with that.
following it.
All right, cool.
Esther, you creep.
Listen,
Leave
if
the
you
poor
think I
girl
haven't
alone.
stalked every single person each one of you has dated, you're wrong. I've stalked them all.
Oh, actually, yeah. So, quick funny story about that. So, I switched my status on Facebook to in a relationship, but I didn't like do the whole post thing. I just switched the status. 3 hours later, I get a message from Esther, just no text, just a picture of my relationship status. And I'm like, holy crap.
Creepy.
Yeah. And like,
And a red circle.
yeah, a red circle.
Around in a relationship.
Just no text, just that picture. And so I text her about it, and then turns out it wasn't even her that found it. It was Mom. And so still,
Yeah,
like,
it
So
was
what?
mom was looking on your page and just like clicked on your about.
I guess, like, because that's the thing. It doesn't just show up. You have to go into the about section. You have to be intentionally creeping to find it. And so sure
I
enough,
wonder
she
where
did.
Elisha's working. Oh wait, I know where he works. Why would she be in that section? That's so weird.
I do not know, but she was, and so I guess she announced it to everybody in the house.
Maybe she had like a sense for it, like she knew it was coming. She's like, I sense it. I have to check. And
I
she
don't
just
know.
like checks.
Possibly. She gets excited. She's been getting really excited anytime I'm talking to anybody in the last couple months. I think she really wants me to have kids because you guys have all decided you're not going to.
Yeah, no, I know. She's like last.
I'm gonna adopt,
last-ditch
maybe.
effort.
Well, yeah, no, like you girls have mentioned adopting, potentially, which is totally fine because
Me and Juju are gonna adopt a child together.
I hope so. Juju will end up having to
poor
do all the
child.
work though, and Esther will just take all the credit
Esther will
and
be the
lots
fun
of
parent.
Instagram photos.
Yeah, you know my child would be in style, okay?
yeah.
She'd put him on a weird diet.
No.
This baby is gluten free,
Gluten-free.
okay?
I don't care if you want Oreos. You're gluten free.
Why are you feeding Oreos to a newborn? That's the bad idea.
No, you
Don't
don't have
do
to
that.
adopt a newborn. You can adopt any age.
Yeah, listen, I can
Esther's gonna adopt somebody
listen,
older
30
than her.
years old.
Listen, I can adopt right now. I can adopt a 17-year-old, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be
And then
listen.
in a
I'm
year
your
they
mom
move
now.
out.
I'm your mom now.
Creepy again.
Oh boy. So what about the rest of you guys? What have you guys been up to this week?
So last Tuesday, me and Claudia went to a yoga class.
Oh no way! Really?
Huh.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do it
You did
regularly
yoga?
now. But
Oh, that's awesome and adorable.
basically, there's 2 people who own the restaurant that Claudia works at.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple, and one of them, the woman, I guess she's probably done this in the past because she seemed very experienced in it. So she decided she wanted to kind of open it up to people to. I don't know if it was just for like people working there, but basically open up to have like a nice yoga class like once a week, just to kind of exercise, stretch and sort of meditate and have just kind of a good kind of like week break. Because they don't open the restaurant on Mondays or Tuesdays, so it was kind of a perfect time for her to like run it. So she runs it right out of the restaurant. So we
that's awesome.
They move tables to like the side of the room because they have this huge like dining area upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And they just move all the tables to one side of the room, and we use that. And it's kind of funny because they had this like huge Christmas tree in there. Like the ceiling is probably like 30, 40 feet tall, like up to like the top, because it's like in a barn, because the restaurant's called the Barn Restaurant. But
That
they
makes
had one of
sense.
those like giant Christmas trees in there still. So we did yoga next to like a big old fireplace in this huge tree with these 40 feet ceilings. So it's kind of cool.
That is really cool.
Huh.
But yeah, I'd never done yoga before, so I don't know any of
Really?
the poses. Yeah, I was like, the whole time I'm like, all right, what's the next pose? Like, yeah, okay, what's this thing? And how am I doing it right? And I have no idea if I'm doing it right. But I'm sure I'll get better as time goes on.
Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. I need to get back into it. I've done it on and off over the years, and it's, I don't know, it's very
Yeah, I
relaxing.
borrowed your
Do you feel better after yoga, Alex?
Wait, what?
Do you feel better after yoga?
Yeah, it was actually kind of relaxing. There was one point.
Has it changed your life?
Not changed my life. I think you have to you have to be doing it for like years before you're like, yeah, I'd be a different person if I didn't have this. But I think it's a cool time to just relax and not really think about things and just sort of exercise your body and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome that you and Claudia plan on probably doing that pretty regularly.
Yeah, I think it's just cool that it's happening in this area too. It's something that local that we can go to, that we can do, and it's free, so we don't have to pay. So plus though, the the woman who's instructing and everything, she's such a pro at it that you would expect, oh, it's a freebie, so this is probably going to be kind of an okay kind of experience. But no, she's all into it and really good at instructing and stuff.
Oh,
so
wow.
it totally feels like a legitimate, if she was being paid to do this kind of thing. So it's definitely really cool.
I did Zumba once in gym class.
Yeah. Zumba's interesting because
talk about Zumba.
Zumba's just all dancing and stuff too, but that's always a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of fun.
weird dancing.
Is Zumba still a thing? I'm not usually hip to those sort of stuff, but Zumba was really big for a while there, and then I mean, that's the first time I've heard even the word Zumba in quite
Claudia's
some time.
aunt used to do Zumba classes. She does? She still does, apparently. I think she used to run them in a park, do outdoor Zumba sometimes.
All right, Juice, what's your new this week?
I helped Mom find a gown, and we went dress shopping.
Cool.
What mall
got
did
a
you
really
guys go
pretty
to that
gown.
you said you were going to?
I don't even know where it is actually, but it's
Was it Emerald
pretty
Square
far.
Mall or something like that?
no.
Okay.
Or was it Warwick
that?
Mall?
Let's start with some facts that
No,
Gigi
it wasn't
might
Warwick.
know. What color was the dress?
The dress was navy blue.
Navy blue. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have sequins? Is it
No, it doesn't.
Is it sparkly in the least, or is it a matte?
It's matte.
Okay.
And it has some
Yeah, the
lace
sweetheart
on the
neckline and a
shoulders.
lace over front thingy that goes over the shoulders, and it kind of flows down to the floor.
Sounds very pretty.
It's it actually looks really good on her.
Yeah.
Well, don't sound
She
that
looks
surprised.
beautiful.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it
wrong
looks
with
really
you?
good on her. I didn't mean to say
No,
actually.
I know you did. I'm just being mean. I know you meant it totally as a compliment. But that's awesome.
So it's time for our next segment. Sorry, I'm having trouble breathing. Our next segment is our topic of the week. And the topic this week is middle school.
Ugh.
Meaning anything related to middle school, anything related to preteen, hormones, weird things going on. You can talk about anything you
I think I
like.
asked you guys this a while ago, but when you guys went to middle school, did they still use those old CAD computers where you have to take tests on the computers?
Oh yeah, like in IT.
Yeah, it was part of IT.
Yeah.
And you'd have to
Yeah.
you tried to do as many, each one was a different station. You had to try to do as many as you could do. I was always so bad
See-
at that. And I'm
I
good
feel
at
like I was
computers,
the only
but
one that ever took that seriously ever.
See, I don't really remember IT because, I was never I was never good at technology. But even in like middle school, like when we were learning, I don't know, I guess like we started learning PowerPoint at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And like something else too, and I did not get it. Like I just kind of watched other people do it and was just like, I'm going to not do this because I don't get it. Like I had to like, I don't know, that was just like all a blur to me, the whole computer thing.
Well, the funny thing about the computers was that, like, even for when I was in the school doing them and using them, like, that was old tech. Like, that was, like, old.
Yeah.
So when I remember I asked, I think a while back, you guys said, like, yeah, we did use those computers. I was like, holy cow, like, they were still using those. They must have, like, made use of those for, like 10 years.
Yeah, I wonder if they're still using them.
Probably not.
Probably not.
It'd be hilarious if they were.
I wish I was
don't
still
know.
subbing because I would have checked. Because I was
yeah.
probably out of the four of us the most recent person to have visited Kikimewit, actually. Because when I was subbing, not this spring, but the previous spring. No, not spring, fall. I'm all turned around. But yeah, so when I was subbing before, I was subbing in our school district, and I did sub at the middle school like twice, but I hated it because middle schoolers are the worst, and the whole place smells like farts. It smells like children farts.
I believe it.
It's so gross. Because it's just a lot
That's
of
why
like...
nobody wants to remember middle school.
Yeah, no, it's just a lot of
Because of the
like
Well, you know,
puberty-ridden like little smelly creatures.
Actually, if you think about
Oh,
it this
God.
way, right? Whenever you smell a fart, it reminds you of middle school. Because smells are so
gross.
much like connected to memory. Every time you smell
I think
a
the
fart.
reason why I liked that class though is because there was like an animation one, and I knew I wanted to go into animation, so I was like excited to like learn about that through one of the weird programs.
I
So-
took home economics, and I
Oh,
learned
no.
how to sew a stitch or something like that, and I also learned how to use a. I learned how to use
A stitch.
a washer machine, but
A wa-
Wait, they had
Yeah,
washing
she literally-
machines?
like a washing
Yeah,
machine
like-
or
a washing machine, washer machine, whatever it's called, where you wash your clothes.
a washer machine.
Basically, she just had it on display and was like, oh, like if you guys, so when you guys go home, go to your washer machines tonight and look at this knob, and you turn it, and it turns off. That was literally that class that I took.
I do not remember them having washing machines
Yeah,
as displays in
They
there.
did not have
I
that when I
know
was
she
there.
had one.
When I was in middle school, because now that reminds me, because I do remember home ec, I had homeroom with Nick Staub, our neighbor, and so
yeah.
with homeroom, you in middle school you all go to the same sixthlies, because we had sixthlies when I was in middle school, so they broke it up into like 6 semesters instead of 4 or 3, depending on the school. But anyhow, so we had home ec, and out of the whole class, Nick Staub and I were the only ones that knew how to sew and use the sewing machines. So we were breaking gender norms by teaching all the ladies how to sew and use sewing machines. Funny enough, I mean,
It's
like,
in your DNA, Elisha.
it is. Well, I mean, Mom's been sewing since our entire lives.
You know what would have been more breaking gender norms? If
What?
you and Nick were teaching all the boys how to sew. In the
Okay, well,
class.
so we taught everybody. I just thought it was especially ironic, or
Well, good for you.
interesting. But yeah, I mean, like, just think about, because Nick's always like has been big even since middle school. He's this big Greek guy, and then like little old me.
Yeah. Well, I was actually, Mom gave me one of her sewing machines she got from a client. She didn't even know if it worked or not, so we plugged it in last time I was in Rhode Island, and she's like, "Oh, it works," and she gave me some stuff because I needed to do a small project over here. And as I'm sewing, I'm working on this project yesterday. I was thinking about home ec in middle school, actually, this is before Esther even mentioned the topic.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about middle school, and I was thinking, like, I'm like, man, like, these are actually, like, pretty useful skills, you know what I mean, that, like, nobody really uses anymore, but, like, they're useful.
Yeah, no,
you
they're
know?
totally useful.
And I was thinking, like, why didn't they, like, continue this through high school, or at least have it as an option, you know what I
It
mean, or
was.
something. I feel,
There was a
Yeah.
home ec option, sort of.
wait, with
I-
sewing and
except
everything?
no one took it. I don't know.
I
but
possibly. I took a lot of
Or
the other
maybe
home
they-
ec stuff actually.
Let me change my wording. Maybe they should have made it mandatory. That along with like a class that teaches you how to like pay your bills. Like actually does. Not one where the teacher's like, go in front of the computers and read the prompts and then pretends
well,
to
in high school I had one that was supposed to sort of be like that, but instead we watched The Apprentice a lot.
oh no.
I still don't really understand why. I really liked the teacher that we had.
and
but-
that's when the teacher said someday he's going to be our president.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
No, I doubt that ever happened.
No, I don't think there's a single human being that predicted that one at that point in time, because we're talking over 10 years ago now.
Wait, didn't The Simpsons predict that?
Shut
Oh,
up, Juge.
all right.
You don't know what you're
No,
talking about.
Do you know what? I stand corrected. I am willing to admit when I'm wrong. Juji is definitely right. But God, middle school was terrible. So I started middle school in 7th grade because I had been homeschooled up until then, and then our parents got
Oh, right.
divorced. So I started middle school in the worst possible way, right in the middle of it, not knowing any of the kids, being full of smelliness and hormones and awkwardness and not knowing how to dress myself. And
But you knew how to sew.
I
It
didn't know
was
how
your
to
first
sew.
time ever in school.
Yeah, it was first time ever in public school. Awkward with girls, awkward with life. Totally, like now having the existential crisis that comes at that age of understanding that your parents are fallible, and so you question everything. It was gross. It was not a good time. Awkward school dances. I remember coming up with one dance
Yeah.
move with some friends called the lawnmower, where it looked like you were like mowing the lawn, and then you'd like pull the ripcord to start the lawnmower, and that was one of the moves. We're cool kids.
So I think your like your middle school experience like interests me the most because you just kind of jumped into school. So do you remember like the first like week or a month or so like adjusting to all that? Like some things that like people said to you or like weird experiences you had where like everyone knew something that you didn't know or something like that?
So there was it was like a mixed bag of weird stuff. For instance, in math classes, because the type of math that I was doing in homeschool was so much more advanced, there would be a lot of times where we'd be going over stuff on the board, and so I was like told to go up at one point, and I did out the math problem, and everybody's like, "How'd you know how to do that?" And I was like, "I watched it on like a PBS show. Like this wasn't even hard stuff." And I was like, "How'd you already know how to do that?" And it was like I remember seeing some sort of episode of like one of those generic, like learning math kids shows
was
on
it
PBS.
Cyber Chase or something?
Oh my God, I think it was.
Wait,
Uh,
what?
Wow.
I loved Cyber Chase.
That's a
Oh,
throwback.
yeah.
There's a really solid chance it was Cyber Chase. Wow. Yeah, no, because like animation-wise, I had the picture in my head, but obviously I can't articulate that. Wow, Cyber Chase. Jeez. Anyhow, yeah. So there was that. I did a project on Sacagawea. I remember doing. I learned a lot of swear words that I didn't know before.
Yeah. That's
Not that I used any of them.
that's
but
the most of middle school education, I
yeah,
think.
there was like a lot of like weird, gross stuff like that I learned that I was like, oh, I can't now unknow that.
Child innocence gone in a flash.
Actually, do you know what? A good chunk of that is Nick Staub's fault as well.
Figures, right? Yeah.
But yeah, no, him and I actually bonded a lot over that because we were both new because he had recently moved to the area, so we ended up connecting a lot over that in middle school. Oh gosh, maybe you guys remember the name of the book. Alex probably read it. I don't know if you girls did, but there was this one book about this like giant guy and like this little tiny kid, and the giant would like take care of him and like keep people from bullying him, and the little kid was really smart and the giant guy was kind of dumb. Oh jeez, I can't remember the name of this book now, but it was a normal book that like everybody had to read in middle school. And
man, I don't even know. I'm not really sure. And it wasn't like a serial, right?
Jack
It was
and
just
the
one book.
Beanstalk?
Yeah, it was just one book. It's gonna kill me that I can't remember it. But anyhow, so because we had to read this.
It's funny when you said that though. My first immediate like thought was like Of Mice and Men.
Yeah,
because you said like a big guy, big dopey guy, and like a small guy. But I was like, no, that doesn't make any
No,
sense.
I thought that too. Yeah.
No, I definitely that definitely comes to mind as well. But it was the dynamic was similar but slightly different. The big dopey guy was just he was slow, but he wasn't like accidentally killing rabbits slow. And the little guy was this like spunky little kid who was really smart, but like his body didn't work very well or something like that. But anyhow, so because Nick Staub was already a giant and I was still like this little pipsqueak, and we were best buddies walking around, everybody kind of drew some parallels between the characters.
Oh my god,
and our
I don't
friendship.
really know. I'm starting to like understand what you're saying. Like I feel like I've heard this before, and I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, no, there's a good chance you read it. I doubt the girls did because they probably changed it by then. But I now have to figure out what the name of that book is. But yeah, no, middle school was absolutely dreadful. I was angsty and miserable and confused and just.
I realized that technically means you didn't go to elementary school.
No, but I did actually go to kindergarten, which none of you guys did.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, because
Elisha was like the trial and error child. Like they tried some things out, probably didn't work. Like the sports, the kindergarten, like those are all like trials.
Yeah, and Esther's just the error child.
So
I set everything in stone. Is what I did.
So
You
earlier,
push
Elisha was talking about how like he got into public school and realized that the level of knowledge wasn't like the same as it was in public school versus homeschooling.
Yeah.
And so I remember having some strange moments as well because we were so advanced in certain things like math and stuff. And when I first went into public school, of course, I had to take like a test that would like decide whether I was going to go to 4th grade or 5th grade. Because my age, I was a little early, like I was a little young. I was supposed to be in 5th grade, but they were more likely to put me in 4th grade anyway because they were like, well, he'll be like the youngest one in the class, and we want him to like age with the other kids and blah blah blah. Well, I like flunked this test, and so they sent me back to 4th grade. But flash forward to middle school, I remember there were being so many things that like I had already learned finally being told, like even in middle school. It was that bad. There was like some things that were like, okay, now we're going to learn this thing. And I was like, you know what? I remember learning this a while ago. I just don't know. You know, like there was like lots of things, lots of times where stuff sort of happened.
Did you learn it in homeschooling or in Cyberchase?
I don't know. It could have been either.
All right, so I mean, I guess contrary to your experiences, I was dumb.
Well, no.
I didn't understand anything throughout. Actually, I didn't understand anything in school until like junior year of high school. Is when something clicked in me. I was like, oh, 2 + 2 = 4? Like, literally, like, things that basic, like, did not make any sense to me. It was really bad.
Well, Esther, what's worse, being like dumb but being set in like normal like classes, or being smart and being set in dumb classes because they think you're dumb? Because that was my whole
Well-
middle school experience.
Well, I've had both experiences, though, because, like, I was with smart kids or normal kids, and I didn't pass the class. So they put me in this class with, like, a bunch of delinquents. And they're all, like, kids who just didn't, like, they weren't kids who were bad at math, or, like, I think it was, yeah, it was a math class, but they just didn't do the math, and they didn't, like, do, like, anything. I was just bad at it, and I would also forget to turn in my homework. Like, I would do my homework, but then forget to turn it in because I was an idiot. So I aced this class, and it was ridiculous, too. I had this teacher who was, like, he would just kind of hand out A's. Like, if he saw that you were at least trying, he'd be like, A+ for you. And he would come up to me. I'd just be working on a problem, and he'd be like, Esther, I'm going to give you an A. And I'm like, awesome. I'm just working on a problem over here about things. That was a good time. I felt so smart when I was in that class. I don't like being in classes where people are smarter than me, because then that's like, what the heck?
But weren't you like the first of us to get straight A's one year or one semester? Or
I'd believe
I
that.
I didn't get straight A's until like I don't know, like sophomore year of high school. We didn't get A's in middle school. We got
Well, yeah.
numbers. So I think in high school, the first time I got straight A's was like sophomore year, and it's because I like I took the dumb math class again because I figured it out. I was like, oh, I know how I can get through like high school. Just take the same math class I took in 7th grade. So I ended up getting like straight A's or something because of that. But yeah, in middle school I just felt really stupid. I don't know. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't even about academics. I had like a lot of like just like interesting social interactions. That was when like I first started making like friends and like a friend group. Because I remember in elementary school I just had trouble like making friends. No one wanted to be my friend. But yeah, in middle school, like, I don't know, like, all these kids from Bristol were like, oh, Esther, you seem cool, hang out with me. And I didn't know any better, so I was like, okay, I'll be your friend. And I had some interesting times. I think, when I think of middle school, all I think of is, like what I was wearing, who I was talking to, and, like, how I was, like, rebelling. So, like, I was wearing neon and sequins things sometimes. Like, I don't know, I just, like, I thought I had the coolest outfits, but I would wear like neon tights or like neon leggings or something, like a sequin skirt, and then like this t-shirt that was like a graphic tee and it had like Coca-Cola written on the front.
I mean, you dressed better than me, so that's.
Georgie would knit her hats, like would knit animal hats and wear them in the cafeteria.
Crochet. I didn't know how to knit.
At the time.
Reed taught me how to crochet on a bus in middle school to a where we performed for chorus. We went to like a theme park or whatever. It was Canterbury Lake Park or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Canterbury Lake.
Yeah, we were on a bus to that, and Reed taught me how to crochet.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember I went to Canterbury Lake in middle school, and I had this friend. I had these. I'm not even gonna talk about my friends because it would take the entire podcast. Middle school friends, but I did have like this group of friends where there's like a love triangle. And so when we went to Canterbury Lake, this girl that I was best friends with, she broke up with her boyfriend, cried about it, and like ran around the park and stuff. And then I saw him running around the park crying too. And then they got back, and then he's dated someone else. And then so all of a sudden I'm like going around the park and I see him holding hands with another girl. I'm like, okay, well that was fast. And then he breaks up with her. she's crying, he's crying again, and then finally by the end of the day, he's back together with the first girl.
Oh my
no
god.
freaking way.
Yeah, and then the two girls dated each other.
No.
Yes, I'm not joking.
Wow. Oh, jeez.
Weird love triangle.
Yeah.
Did you ever have
that
any?
is-
Did you ever have any like awkward fallouts with any of your friends in middle school?
Yeah, all of them. Every single file was awkward. Every single.
I remember one lunch period. I ended up getting into a fight with like one of my best friends. Like, well, he was my best friend in like elementary school, but like we kind of like parted ways in middle school. But we used to hang out at lunch because it was the only time we were like together. And I remember he was like teasing me or something. There was a group of kids who were teasing me, and I ended up like probably like the wimpiest punch, but I ended up like socking him in the face. And and then of course like somebody watching, like a teacher or somebody watching, like pulled me aside and like got me in trouble. And for like the next like week or so, I was supposed to sit where like the bad kids usually sit. And of course it's like little me, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so the woman who usually would monitor these like these bad kids, she felt bad for me, so she'd like bring me a cookie every lunch period. Because I was just sitting there like all alone being like really, really nice. Because like normally the kids who would sit there, they'd be like antsy. They're like the kids with ADD, and they're like freaking shaking and like moving around. They can't keep their hands still, and they're like drawing on their arms and stuff. And I just sit there, you know what I mean? Like almost like a coma state, just sort of just like sitting there patiently waiting for the lunch period to finish. And she knew I wasn't a bad kid.
Gigi,
That just reminds me of lunch detention.
Gigi, you gonna talk about all the times you got in trouble in middle school?
Okay, so we had to get our agenda signed in like 7th grade.
Oh,
every,
you were so
every day.
bad at that.
So I just didn't. And every other day, so they would check every day, and they'd be like every other time that you didn't get it signed, you get a lunch detention. So I just had a lunch detention every other day, which is you get your lunch, and then you go to where your classes are, and you just sit in the hallway and eat your lunch. You just sit on the ground
Oh, I
and
would
eat your
sit
lunch.
with my teacher and eat my lunch.
Yeah, my teachers made me sit in the hallway, and so I
Sure?
would just
Don't you want to eat lunch with you?
every
Like,
other
can't
day
even
I
see
just
your
kind of
face.
sit in the hallway and eat my lunch, and I thought it was kind of funny. But then about like 3 months into doing that, my teacher finally realized that I hadn't been getting my agenda signed at all, and so then I got like a real detention. But basically, all I did was sort of do some homework for one of my classes I was falling behind in.
A real detention in middle school, George.
Yeah, she
Wow.
wouldn't talk to mom about everything.
Out of everyone here,
was
Gigi had
weird.
like the most street cred in
I
middle
don't know.
school.
Gigi, talk
had lunch
Gigi, talk
detention
about
every
that
day.
time that you cried because you got yelled at because you got in trouble. Remember that?
Oh, there goes her
Talk
street
about
cred.
that
So
kind
like,
Uh-oh.
so like things like lunch detention. I just thought it was funny. But one time I was in lunch, and I was just really hungry, really excited to go get lunch, and so I kind of I was like walking really fast. We're kind of skipping to the lunch line because I was just really happy to get lunch. And then all of a sudden, the dean starts yelling from across the room, and then I didn't know he was yelling at me at first, but it's because I seemed to be ignoring him. He just got really mad at me and made me sit in like this sort of half table that was facing the wall, like on the other side of the room from where my friends were sitting. And I was just crying because I was just like, oh no, he yelled at me.
For skipping
Yeah.
into the lunch line.
Yes.
But I think
He was
that
like,
teachers...
don't run in the lunchroom. But it was just like, you could have just left, like gave me like a warning or something. No, you had
I
to like,
think the most strict time in middle school was lunch, was like the cafeteria. Like that was
Oh,
when
yeah.
all the monsters came out of like the soup, like the principal, the teachers, like their monsters inside them came out during lunchtime because they would like set up all these crazy rules, like don't talk to your friends like until we say you can, like don't you can't throw out your trash until we assign tables to throw out their trash at one time. You can't walk up to the lunch line in front of like another table. Like it was so weird. It was like a military like sort of
We
style.
tried to
There-
like find different ways to rebel against it. It was great.
They were worried about
Then
all
we
the
had to
kids
sit-
overthrowing
yeah.
the teachers.
One time, like the whole lunchroom just started like clapping or something, just to annoy
Yeah,
them.
we would do it like the entire lunchroom, and this is like hundreds of kids. We would think of ways to rebel. So like one time, someone would start clapping, and we'd all just be clapping for no reason. Although we did that in high school a lot too.
But that was for different reasons, I guess.
Like
That wasn't
Oh
to
my God.
rebel. That was just to.
like one kid stands up. The best part is like one kid stands up and like takes their tray and starts walking, and then they just see a bunch of people clapping around them, and they're like, "Oh crap, I gotta go sit down."
And then the whole room just starts clapping.
oh, that would happen all the time.
And they're like, why are we clapping? I don't know. Let's just keep doing it.
And there was a sit down one time too, where we all like organized this time that we'd all sit down on the floor and said because they had assigned seatings for the lunchroom. Who the heck gives assigned seatings for the lunchroom? So we all were angry about that. So we did it at like a thing where we all sat down on the floor as soon as we got our food. And there was about like 5 or so tables who did that. So like
Wow, you guys are organized.
Yeah, we all got in trouble.
We were never that organized in middle school, but we also didn't have assigned seating like that. There might have been like once or twice where for like a day they would do something along those lines, but it was
Yeah,
much
to punish
more
the
wild.
students.
Well,
as a
yeah,
But it
punishment
was much
thing.
more Wild
they would
West.
never for very long. They would never have those rules for very long. Like they'd always like change it up like all the time. They'd have like all of a sudden for maybe a week they'd have like this dumb rule, but then they get rid of it. Probably because it was a really bad idea.
Wait, so explain that to me again, because I want to understand that. So you had assigned seating, but kids didn't want to abide by the rules, so they sat on the floor? Is that what you said?
Like I don't know exactly like what the incident was, but we were all angry because they did something. They made like a rule or a law or something, and we're like, okay, let's rebel against them and say like, hey, we're gonna sit on the floor and we won't get up until you change it or something. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, you remember in middle school there was that one guy, I'm not going to, even if I can remember his name, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to describe him and you guys are going to know who I'm talking about. He had red hair and he always wore a vest. You know what I'm talking about? He was like the dean in middle school.
Oh, I think I had a different dean from you.
Yeah, I had a
The
different
dean
dean.
at the middle school.
Really? Did you guys have a different dean?
Yeah, it was like this guy who was like, oh, I was in the Navy, but he was like actually a cook in
Oh,
the
Mr.
Navy.
Howlett.
Yeah. He was
Oh,
actually just a cook in the
See, I
Navy,
thought-
so we were
Wait,
always
I
kind of
thought he
making
was the
fun of
dean
him for
when
that.
I was. in
Yeah,
middle
he
school.
was when I was there too.
He had red hair.
What?
Yeah, I could have sworn he had
No, he
reddish
didn't have red hair.
No,
No, he didn't.
he didn't have red hair and he didn't wear vests.
Yeah. You were all wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember
Wait a
that.
minute. What are you talking about? He didn't wear a vest. That was his trademark. He was always wearing a vest.
Maybe he was just trying that out for a couple years while you were around.
Maybe he dyed his
For
hair
all-
red while you were around.
For all 3 years
It
that
was
I
a
was
phase,
there, he just
Alex.
was trying it out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
I don't know. Maybe.
Someone, I feel like someone else wore a vest, but not him.
Well, he was so. Now that we've named names anyway, but whatever. He was so bad. I remember, like, even in high school, there was rumors that he was going to transfer to the high school. And
Oh,
everyone
there was
like,
those
"No!"
same rumors when I
And
was
everyone
in high school
was
too.
like,
Oh my
freaking
God,
out.
so it was
yeah,
like a
me
thing.
too.
Yeah, no, it was totally a
Yeah,
thing.
that's just a.
That's like, oh, there's a
Because
pool on
everyone
the roof.
hated him so
you know?
much.
Mr. H is coming to the high school now, and everyone. It's like
That was the guy that yelled at me in the lunchroom.
that makes sense.
Because everyone hates him. Because he's just a jerk to everyone.
Yep.
See,
No
the
one
thing
liked the guy.
is,
I remember.
I don't like actually know if because I was so angsty and unhappy in middle school that he could have been like a really awesome dude, and there's no way I would know. There's absolutely no way I would
No,
know.
no, he was just horrible.
He was just horrible.
He was just a horrible
because I can't
person.
judge. Like
Yeah.
I can't have any confidence in my judgment during that period of time. Because everybody was just
I remember
the worst.
in IT.
For someone to yell at me, they had to be a horrible person.
True.
Just saying.
Fair enough.
Because I didn't. I didn't get yelled at that much.
Poor Juji's little heart. She couldn't even handle it.
Nope, she still cries herself to sleep at night over that one.
Someone yelled at me.
One incident.
Guys, remember? I don't know if you had the same. So I had an IT teacher, and like this is a class that you would like.
It's not Mr. Perry, right?
It was Mr. Perry.
Yeah.
You would build like the frame of a house, or like you would
Popsicle
build
stick
a
bridge?
car or something. No.
What? You didn't make
I
the
built, like-
popsicle stick bridge?
I made a bridge.
Oh,
I
I
don't know
didn't
if
make a
it was
bridge. I just
popsicle
built a
sticks.
car and I built a house. And my house was really cool, but these girls in my class kept taking my walls and like hiding them. And I got so frustrated one time.
What?
Yeah, I know, but then they apologized. They wrote in my yearbook, "Sorry for taking your walls."
Okay.
Too late now.
But,
the school year's over.
I know, right?
Well,
Anyways, yeah. So that teacher, like I like thought, okay, this is the last time I'll see you, cause bye middle school. But then I ended up seeing him like a ton of times because he started like running the open mic thing at our cafe in our town.
Oh.
And I thought that was like so weird because it was like my middle school teacher. And at this point, I'm like 16, and I'm like, oh, so you run this thing? It was so weird. He was like a secret like guitar player on the side. He was like, you'd think like you go to class, you're like, oh, he just works in construction or something, but no, he's a guitar player.
Totally not like he doesn't have the credentials to even be a teacher doing that, but
Yeah.
Well, I had him for that computer IT class. I had there were two IT teachers.
yeah,
and they
one
kind of like
one a little bit
switched.
huskier, and then there was Perry who was like short and like Portuguese.
Yeah. So I had the other guy for like the building one. I had to like build a car that would protect an egg when you crashed it.
Me too.
I do not remember that.
yeah, no, I
That was fun.
definitely did bridge and then house.
My car broke, but the egg was completely fine, and I was really happy about
You
that.
succeeded then.
Yes.
There you go. Our song of the week is "The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything" by Reliant K.
Oh man.
Yeah,
That's us.
from the VeggieTales soundtrack from the VeggieTales movie.
Of course.
A nice classic that that everyone at home should enjoy. I do actually need to post our playlist to the social medias.
I think I'm gonna
'Cause-
listen to that one after we end this. Blast it and make Claudia have to listen to it.
it.
Wait, so that's on Spotify?
Of course it is.
But like that other song wasn't on Spotify from the Lazy Town?
Yeah, that I'm actually still surprised about. I could have sworn I had seen it on there before, but I guess not. I do know I had it on my iPod at one point. But anyhow, yeah, definitely recommend it. Definitely check it out if you haven't heard it. It is a classic, and it will be on the Pirate Wednesdays playlist that I'll make public hopefully sometime this week. So, with that said, I want to say thank you to our two listeners, our mom and our Uncle Richie, for listening in. Esther, want to tell the folks at home where they can find us and how they can send in listener questions and suggestions.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram. Instagram, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes. But yeah, it's podcast is iTunes. Am I forgetting something? Anyways, you can find us on those places at Pirate Wednesdays. And you can find us on Twitter at Pirate Wednesday without the S. And then you can also comment and like send us messages through piratewednesdays@gmail.com. You can rate and subscribe and leave comments on whatever social media platform.
All right, very cool. So I haven't had a lot of stuff to promote lately, but I figure I'll promote Dragon Ball Super Dope one more time, my friend Kyle's podcast. I was actually listening to an episode of that today, and he had an old friend of ours, Carlton, that actually came up in, I think, our last episode. He had him on there, and then I end up coming up in topic on their podcast because they started talking about how we used to make swords and shields when we were kids and like battle each other and kind of some early LARPing.
Wow.
But
Nerd.
but anyhow, yeah, totally. So if you are also a fellow nerd and are big into Dragon Ball Z, there is a lot of profanity. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, totally awesome podcast. Very funny, very ridiculous. It's called Dragon Ball Super Dope. You can find it on all the things. And it basically follows along with Dragon Ball Super, the latest Dragon Ball series, as well as kind of diverges into some other Dragon Ball related topics such as the video games and different parts of the lore. Definitely an interesting listen and a lot of fun. And highly recommend it if that is your shtick. Without further ado, Jude, you want to sign us off?
Don't forget to shave your belly with a rusty razor.